This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Monday, March 31st, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
Chanting Elon Musk has got to go, protesters took to the streets outside Tesla showrooms across the country. I'm Julie Walker.
A big week ahead for the Trump administration's plans to place more tariffs on foreign-made goods. I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
Elon Musk can go ahead with plans to hand two Wisconsin voters $1 million each. I'm Donna Warder.
President Trump not ruling out the possibility of a third term. So how would that work? I'm Clayton Neville.
On Wall Street, investors bracing for more tariffs this week from the Trump administration after another losing week for stocks. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
Reasons why Trump is threatening Putin with tariffs.
Utah has become the first state to ban fluoride in public drinking water. I'm Lisa Adams Wagner.
All ahead on America in the Morning. Across the nation, as well as in Canada and the UK, there were protests over the weekend against Tesla and Elon Musk. But in a number of cases, there were also people waving American flags, holding Stand with Tesla rallies. As correspondent Julie Walker reports, both the protests and rallies come as the Department of Justice is investigating a number of cases of people damaging Tesla cars and cybertrucks, along with Tesla showrooms.
Chanting Elon Musk has got to go, protesters took to the streets outside Tesla showrooms across the country Saturday, including this one in Berkeley, California. Demonstrator Judith Barish.
Although the protest is ostensibly aimed at Elon Musk, I really hope that it will send a message to the Democratic leadership that people are super angry and we want our democratically elected representatives to stand up and take action and really fight what's happening in Washington.
Much of Musk's estimated $340 billion fortune consists of his stock in Tesla, and the billionaire is leading the Trump administration's cuts to federal workers and programs. Protester Dennis Bagley says he has too much power.
We need to stop this, or we'll lose our whole country and everything that's good about the United States.
Protests were also held outside Tesla showrooms in Europe. Protesters of Elon Musk, including in London, where American Francis took part.
I actually think the brand Tesla was a wonderful idea in the beginning, and it's simply the politics of Elon Musk. So this is a move against Musk.
It's the latest attempt to dent the fortune of the world's richest man and send a message, says Robin, who was visiting London from the U.S.
One man making these arbitrary decisions for the rest of our country.
The demonstrations are part of the Tesla takedown movement that began in opposition to Musk's role as the head of the newly created Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE.
Personally, I think Tesla is good. I would just never buy a new one. And you know, the people who bought those 2 years ago, they were doing the right thing. But now it represents Musk, and as a pushback against him, I think it's important to make a stand and boycott Tesla.
I'm Julie Walker.
The Wall Street Journal reports that an internal debate continues to brew inside the White House over how far to take additional tariffs ahead of a self-imposed Wednesday announcement. John Stolnis has the story from Washington.
The president reportedly considering implementing a campaign promise to institute an across-the-board tariff on virtually everything coming into the United States. In an interview aboard Air Force One over the weekend, Trump sounded a different tone.
The tariffs will be far more generous than those countries were to us, meaning they will be kinder than those countries were to the United States of America over the decades. They ripped us off like no country's ever been ripped off in history.
The Journal reports some advisors are advocating a 20% tariff on everything coming into the U.S., rather than the reciprocal tariffs we've seen thus far. The president playing down worries about an increase in car prices over tariffs he recently imposed on foreign cars, telling NBC News, quote, "I couldn't care less, because if the prices on foreign cars go up, they're going to buy American cars. I hope they raise their prices, because if they do, people are going to buy American-made cars. We have plenty." United Auto Workers President Shawn Fain tells CBS's Face the Nation tariffs against foreign-made cars are fine as long as it benefits American workers.
We've seen over 90,000 manufacturing facilities leave the United States. We've seen In the big three alone in the last 20 plus years, 65 plants have closed. And so, look, tariffs aren't the total solution. Tariffs are a tool in the toolbox to get these companies to do the right thing, and the intent behind it is to bring jobs back here.
White House aide Peter Navarro on Fox News Sunday says, don't believe what you hear about tariffs hurting the economy.
The message is that tariffs are tax cuts, tariffs are jobs.
But Democratic Senator Mark Warner on Fox News disputes that.
$100 billion they're going to collect from auto buyers, $600 billion from the other tariffs. That is a tax.
A new CBS News poll disagrees with the president's focus, finding 64% of people believe President Trump is not focusing enough on lowering prices. And whereas back in January, 42% of people believe Trump's policies are making you financially better off, that number is down nearly 20 points to 23%. John Stolnis, Washington.
Elon Musk's $1 million offer when America in the Morning returns after these messages. This is America in the Morning with the national forecast. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
A storm and associated cold front will continue to move eastward today with some showers and thunderstorms along it. This system has already had a history of producing severe weather in the plains on Saturday and then continuing into the mid-Mississippi Valley into the eastern Great Lakes on Sunday. Today, these storms will be the strongest through the southeast and then continuing into the mid-Atlantic and even up to southern New England. There can be some damaging winds, hail, and even a tornado. On the northern side of the storm, it'll be mainly rain through New York into New England, but a few places in northern Maine could also start as a little bit of ice before warming up above freezing. It'll be a chilly day behind this storm through the northern plains and Great Lakes as high pressure shifts into the area. There could be a few flurries to start the day in Michigan, but most areas will be dry with some sunshine and highs will be in the 30s and 40s. This is actually a few degrees below average for the end of March. Warmer into the central plains with highs in the 50s and 60s and then 70s into northern Texas. Southern Texas will be quite warm with highs moving into the upper 90s where there will be plenty of sunshine. Meanwhile, we have another storm moving through the western states today with largely rain from the Washington and Oregon coasts southward to northern California, and additional showers will build east into Idaho and Nevada and Utah with a mixture of snow, especially in the higher elevations. Portions of the Cascades into the Sierra Nevada could have several inches of snow by Tuesday morning. And moisture from this system will also produce showers as far south as Southern California by day's end and as far east as Wyoming and Colorado. That's the weather across America. Wichita, Kansas will have plenty of sunshine today with a little milder afternoon and a high of 60. Greensboro, North Carolina will be a little warmer with a severe thunderstorm around in the afternoon and a high of 76. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Remember, you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Spotify, Amazon, Apple, YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. The Wisconsin Supreme Court has unanimously decided not to hear a last-minute attempt by the state's attorney general seeking to prevent Elon Musk from giving out million-dollar checks at a rally ahead of the state's closely contested Supreme Court election. With more on the story, here's correspondent Donna Warder.
The voters awarded the money will come from a list of those who signed an online petition against activist judges. Another voter who signed the petition already was given $1 million. Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul, a Democrat, sued on Friday to stop the payments from Musk's America PAC, arguing they violate state law. Tuesday's election pits Brad Schimmel, who Musk and President Donald Trump are backing, against Susan Crawford, who's backed by Democratic megadonors, including George Soros. I'm Donna Warder.
Well, don't let a little thing like it's not currently allowed under the Constitution bother you. President Trump won't rule out running for a third term. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
President Trump has vaguely touched on the idea of a third term. These comments made by Trump earlier this year.
I've raised a lot of money for the next race that I assume I can't use for myself, but I'm not 100% sure.
Trump's allies are behind the idea.
I'm a firm believer that President Trump will run and win again in 2028. So I've already endorsed President Trump. A man like this comes along once every century if we're lucky. We've got him now. He's on fire, and I'm a huge supporter. Want to see him again in 2028.
Steve Bannon spoke with News Nation.
We're working on it. I think we'll have a couple of alternatives. Let's say that.
When asked about the potential of a third term in a phone call with NBC News, Trump said there are methods he could use to do it, but wouldn't expand on what those methods are. He insisted he's not joking, but said it's too early to think about it. When asked about the potential of Vice President J.D. Vance making a run for president, Trump said that's one method, but added there are other methods too. I'm Clayton Neville.
In men's college basketball, the Final Four is set. All number 1 ranked teams. Auburn will meet Florida. Duke plays Houston. The matchups are played Saturday. The championship game is scheduled for 1 week from tonight. When we return on America in the Morning, Trump pardons some bigwigs. We're back after these messages. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments takes a disciplined approach with investing, helping clients navigate volatile markets. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. With our first look at business for the week, here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opens this morning after that ugly Friday sell-off for stocks. It's the final trading day of the first quarter today. The S&P 500 index on pace for its worst start to a year since the pandemic year 2020. The major averages are all lower for the year. Investors worried about tariffs, a trade war, and tanking consumer sentiment. Recession talk on Wall Street seems to be fueled by White House policy.
Even the president, when asked directly in various interviews, hasn't taken it fully off the table.
In all of my years of covering economic policy, I have never seen an administration say it's okay to have a recession, that what we're going to do is so big and so great that we will risk a recession to make it happen.
CNBC senior economics reporter Steve Leisman with CNBC's Scott Wapner. Automakers' shares fell again Friday as 25% tariffs loom on imported cars and light trucks. People were out over the weekend and likely will be this week too, trying to buy a new car before the prices go way up.
I think there's going to be a lot of auto sales as people kind of front run an increase in auto prices because of the tariffs.
Yardeni Research's Ed Yardeni on CNBC. Investors are bracing for Wednesday when President Trump said more tariffs will be announced.
I mean, President Trump's strategy and his MO has been to keep things off balance. It might be working in terms of getting people to the table, but it doesn't work for Wall Street, and it's torture on investors. As long as he keeps changing the tariffs and keeps changing the numbers, Wall Street has to react, and so does the economy.
Farr Miller in Washington's Michael Farr on CNBC. Consumer sentiment getting worse as inflation fears grow in the latest University of Michigan survey.
The University of Michigan's Consumer Inflation Expectations Survey coming in at the highest level since November 22. This all as consumer confidence in the economy tumbles to a 12-year low in March. That's according to Conference Board, as you may know. That's the fourth consecutive monthly contraction.
CNBC's Carl Quintanilla. President Trump pardoned the founders of the BitMEX crypto exchange late Friday. They'd pleaded guilty to a range of criminal charges related to money laundering. The president also pardoned the CEO and founder of electric vehicle maker Nikola on Friday.
The former CEO of Nikola, he was sentenced to 4 years in prison. He's been free, though, pending an appeal. His crimes allegedly were related to defrauding investors with misrepresentations about the electric vehicle company that he ran. Milton, we should point out, is a significant donor to the Trump campaign.
CNBC's Eamon Javers. Gold hit its 17th record high of the year Friday. On this week's watch list, look for that tariff announcement on Wednesday.
Looking forward to it. CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. Banning fluoride in tap water. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. Tariffs that President Trump is planning for Europe could now include Russia as well. The president said he's unhappy with Russian leader Vladimir Putin following remarks from the Kremlin. where he suggested that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is not a legitimate leader. The Trump administration's been working hard to bring the two warring nations to the peace table. Trump told NBC in an interview yesterday that questioning Zelensky's legitimacy and attempting to bring in a new Kyiv government could potentially delay chances for peace, possibly for a long time. Trump threatened to add new secondary tariffs on Russian oil if delays persist. The state of Utah has moved to ban fluoride in public drinking water, a move being criticized by the American Dental Association. Correspondent Lisa Adams-Wagner is following details.
Utah has become the first state to ban fluoride in public drinking water, despite widespread opposition from dentists and national health organizations. Republican Governor Spencer Cox signed legislation barring cities and communities from deciding whether to add the mineral to their water systems. The ban has brought into the mainstream what were once considered fringe opinions about the potential risks of fluoride. Utah lawmakers say it's a matter of personal choice and that fluoridating public water systems is too expensive. Lawmakers in other states, including Florida, Ohio, and South Carolina, also have proposed restricting fluoride in their water systems. I'm Lisa Adams-Wagner.
America in the Morning for Monday, March 31st, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
A powerful 7.7 magnitude earthquake centered in Myanmar rocked Southeast Asia. I'm Jennifer King.
More close calls at American airports and a fight reported in an air traffic control tower. I'm Clayton Neville.
Obviously, the Democrats are super motivated.
Special election campaigns in Florida coming down to the wire. I'm Bob Brown.
Thousands of people have no power in Wisconsin and northern Michigan after freezing rain. I'm Julie Walker.
XAI buys X and possibly saves Tesla. I'm tech correspondent Chuck Palm.
At the box office, it was Jason Statham versus a Disney princess versus Jesus Christ. I'm Kevin Carr.
Back after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Today's national forecast includes the risk of severe thunderstorms. Here's the update from AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
A storm moving through the western states today will produce rain along the Washington and Oregon coast into northern California. We'll have additional showers building eastward into Idaho, Nevada, and Utah with a mixture of snow, especially in the higher elevations. Portions of the Cascades into the Sierra Nevada could have several inches of snow by Tuesday morning. Moisture from this system will also produce showers as far south as Southern California by day's end and as far east as Wyoming and Colorado. It will remain dry in Arizona and New Mexico, though clouds will be filtering in from that same system. Highs throughout the region will range from the 40s, 50s, and 60s in the north, which is a few degrees below average, and warm to the 80s in the southwest, which is close to average. Farther east, a storm and associated cold front will move eastward today with some showers and thunderstorms along it. This system has already had a history of producing severe weather over the weekend. Today, these storms will be the strongest through the southeast and continuing into the middle Atlantic and southern New England. There can be some damaging winds, hail, and even a tornado. On the northern side of the storm, it will be mainly rain through New York into New England, but a few places in northern Maine could start as some ice before warming above freezing. And it'll be quite chilly behind the storm through the northern plains and Great Lakes as high pressure shifts into the area. There could be a few flurries to start the day in Michigan, but most areas will be dry with some sunshine. We'll have highs in the 30s and 40s, which is a few degrees below the historical average for the end of March. And then it will warm into the 50s and 60s in the central plains and then the 70s in northern Texas. And southern Texas will be quite warm with highs in the upper 90s where there will be plenty of sunshine. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
You can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, Apple. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. The death toll has surged past 1,700 in Myanmar and Thailand following a massive Southeast Asia earthquake and a number of strong aftershocks. Correspondent Jennifer King reports in Thailand, a skyscraper under construction toppled with nearly 100 workers still unaccounted for.
I got outside and then looked up at the building, that one there, and this whole building was just moving, dust and debris. It was pretty intense.
Because it was a small bat, we just felt a movement, you know, there was no actual, nothing moving in the building, but the next thing everybody came on the street, so there was a lot of screaming and panicking, which obviously made it a lot worse. A building equivalent to this one here, it was swaying.
I was in my lazy boy and all of a sudden it moved back and forth and then it toppled over and I hit my head on the table.
A powerful 7.7 magnitude earthquake centered in Myanmar rocked Southeast Asia midday Friday, causing extensive damage.
Public infrastructure has been damaged. This includes roads, bridges, and public buildings. We currently have concern for a large-scale dam.
Marie Manrique is a Red Cross program coordinator.
The major bridge that connects Mandalay to Sagaing has also collapsed. It's a developing emergency, and our priority is to ensure that affected communities receive the help that they need as quickly as possible.
The head of the military government, Senior General Min Aung Hlaing, warned that many people are missing and the initial death toll is likely to rise. In Bangkok, Thailand, rescuers pulled people from the rubble of a 33-story building under construction that crumbled into a cloud of dust. Fraser Morton, a tourist from Scotland, was in one of Bangkok's many malls when the quake struck.
All of a sudden, the whole building just began to move. Immediately, there was screaming, there was a lot of panic. I just started walking calmly at first, but then the building started really moving. And a lot of screaming, a lot of panic, people running the wrong way down the escalators, like lots of banging and crashing inside the mall.
While the area is prone to earthquakes, residents in Thailand said it was the strongest one they'd felt in decades. I'm Jennifer King.
It was 2 months ago that an American Airlines flight and a military helicopter collided over the Potomac River at Reagan National Airport in Washington, D.C. Now comes word that in the span of just a few days, another commuter plane and military fighter jet were dangerously close to one another, and a United Airlines flight landing at the Washington airport struck a kite before touching down. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports it's not just planes involved, as a reported fight between air traffic controllers broke out at the Reagan Traffic Control Tower recently. Audio courtesy of liveatc.net.
A United Airlines flight hit a kite while landing at Washington's Reagan National Airport on Saturday afternoon. This, of course, months after a deadly collision at that same airport that killed 67 people. Pilots told air traffic controllers what they saw.
United 654, do you recall any of those the details about the kite and whether it was over the park? How high was it?
It was over the park, about 100 feet over the ground. It looked like it's right on the flight level. The guys were a little bit low. They probably right into it.
Okay, right, thank you.
It's believed the kite was being flown from Gravelly Point Park. That's a popular spot just north of the airport on the Potomac River.
The got a report that appears there's two of them. One is like a bright yellow one.
A warning went out for other pilots in the area.
Use caution for a kite somewhere short flying all around 800 feet. They say it's reported, around 100 feet, somewhere around flying in return.
This a day after a Delta Airlines jet narrowly avoided a mid-air collision with a U.S. Air Force T-38 aircraft at Reagan Airport. Delta Flight 2983 left for Minneapolis-St. Paul when a cockpit warning system issued a resolution advisory directing pilots to take evasive action. The pilot was heard on air traffic control audio confirming the near miss.
Yes, all right. Was there an actual aircraft about 500 feet below us as we came off of the DCA? That's fine. I need to be affirmative. Okay.
Reports surfaced over the weekend of a fight between two air traffic controllers at Reagan Airport late last week. Tensions have been high in the industry in the wake of January's deadly mid-air collision. I'm Clayton Neville.
A lot rides on special elections happening tomorrow to fill a pair of House seats in 2 Florida congressional districts. Bob Brown has details.
Tuesday's special elections in Florida to replace former U.S. Representatives Matt Gaetz and Michael Waltz is not going to determine control of the House. However, a win for Republicans will make them more comfortable given the narrow, slim 218-seat majority they have to the Democrats' 213 seats. In District 1, running for the seat to replace Gaetz, who withdrew his nomination for AG, are Democrat Gay Valamond and Republican Jimmy Petronas, appearing on WKRG TV.
President Trump called me to ask me to do this job. He says, well, I want you to do it. So what are you going to do? You going to tell the guy no?
Jimmy said over and over again, I want to work for Donald Trump.
and has never said, I want to work for the people of Northwest Florida.
In the District 6 seat, Republican State Senator Randy Fine and Democrat Josh Weil are vying for the seat vacated by Michael Waltz, who is President Trump's national security advisor. Fine, recently sitting on a committee in the state legislature, losing patience with voters.
Come on up. Enjoy your terrorist rag. I'll clear the room, and then we can move on if I hear one more outburst. I don't have to have any of you sit here. One more. I'll clear the room.
Weil reportedly outspending his opponent in the campaign.
Josh Weil, one badass teacher, a career in our public schools teaching math and science.
I'll work to lower the cost of groceries and always protect Social Security.
I'm Bob Brown.
Nome back home, and more Musk moves. Those stories and more when America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. At least one person died when they were hit by a tree in eastern Oklahoma as severe weather erupted across a vast stretch of the United States yesterday amid warnings of widespread damaging winds, tornadoes, and hail as large as baseballs. Correspondent Julie Walker reports the weekend weather that caused power outages in several states now brings a dangerous weather risk from Alabama and Florida up to Virginia today.
Thousands of people have no power in Wisconsin and northern Michigan after freezing rain brought down trees and power lines. Churches, schools, and fire halls have been turned into warming centers as utilities work to restore electricity.
In general, it's close to around 70 million people that could potentially be impacted by the severe weather as we go over the next couple days.
National Weather Service meteorologist Mark Chenard says this is a major storm from the central Gulf Coast all the way up into the Great Lakes.
There'll be hazards. So there'll be the potential for hail, strong winds, and even some tornadoes with these storms.
And the storms are bringing heavy rainfall as they move east into Monday.
They're going to be generally fast moving, which will limit the overall magnitude of rainfall. But they're going to be able to produce, heavy rainfall rates. And so we could be looking at generally 1 to 2 inches.
He says roughly 70 million people will be impacted by some kind of weather. I'm Julie Walker.
The annual White House Correspondents' Dinner will go on, but without the comedy headliner. They abruptly canceled the invitation to comedian Amber Ruffin for what the WHCA president called a re-envisioning of the tradition. Ruffin had recently mocked Trump, something that was called out by the White House. The event typically features comedians who often use the forum to roast the guest, particularly those holding office. Presidents have traditionally given lighthearted remarks at the dinner. Instead, the association says it will celebrate the First Amendment and freedom of the press. President Trump skipped the annual dinner during his first 4 years in office and was expected to snub it again next month. America in the Morning continues. A big law firm is cutting a deal with the White House to avoid an executive order issued by President Trump. Washington correspondent Sagar Magani reports.
A major law firm has reached a deal with President Trump to avoid a punishing executive order, even as 2 other prominent firms sue the White House. The president's been targeting big law firms with executive orders meant to sanction them for being associated with lawyers who have investigated him. Skadden Arps, Slate, Meagher, and Flom says the administration was going to target it over its pro bono work and its DEI practices. As part of the deal,
Skadden will provide a total of at least $100 million in pro bono legal services during the Trump administration and beyond.
President announced the agreement hours after 2 other big firms, WilmerHale and Jenner and Block, filed federal suits over orders meant to sanction them, calling the president's actions an unprecedented assault on the legal system. Sagar Magani, Washington.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem has wrapped up her trip to Central and South America after a meeting with the President of Mexico. Following Noem's journey, correspondent Marcela Sanchez.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem met with Mexico's Claudia Sheinbaum for the last stop on her tour to 3 Latin American countries. Despite ongoing tariff threats by the Trump administration, President Sheinbaum said they would focus on security and migration, adding she would emphasize Mexico's sovereignty during her meeting with Noem. More than informing, we're going to share with her what is being done and also the coordination and collaboration that has been established with the United States. Earlier this week, Noem visited El Salvador's high-security prison where Venezuelans flown out by her party are being held. And yesterday, she signed an agreement with Colombia to expand biometric sharing for law enforcement. I'm Marcela Sanchez.
In a bold move, Elon Musk's X AI business acquires the X social media platform in a stock swap that might just save Tesla in the interim. Here's Chuck Palm to explain in today's Tech Report.
Elon Musk's XAI acquired X, the social media platform, in an all-stock transaction, effectively merging both companies to the tune of $113 billion. XAI was recently valued at $80 billion and X at $33 billion after $12 billion in debt. A couple of years ago, XAI became one of the fastest leading AI labs in the world and has built models and data centers at unprecedented speeds. The new blended company will undoubtedly leverage X's massive reach and XAI's expertise and technical know-how, but the stock swap does more than just bring two companies together. This move effectively eliminates the risk of Musk undergoing a forced liquidation of a $12.5 billion margin loan on his Tesla shares. Musk said in a statement that the deal was about blending the AI startup and the social media platform to create something that just doesn't reflect the world, but actively accelerates human progress. Musk did not mention that this also eliminates the risk of being forced to liquidate his Tesla shares. Find me at chuckpalm.com.
We congratulate Chuck on making Amazon's bestseller list. His new book is called Demystifying AI and Blockchain. Monday Sports is in. Here's our Robert Workman.
They're down to the Final Four at the NCAA men's basketball tournament, and all of the top seeds are on their way to San Antonio. It's just the second time that's ever happened. The other time was in 2008, and it was also at the Alamo Dome. Regional finals on Sunday in the Midwest in Indianapolis. Number 1 Houston romped over second seed Tennessee 69-50. The Cougars leading wire to wire for their 17th consecutive victory. Coach Kelvin Sampson is looking forward to a home state advantage.
We'll jump on the interstate and we'll head down to San Antonio.
In the South Regional, an Atlanta top seed Auburn beat number 2 Michigan State 70-64, led by Johnny Broome with 25 points and 14 rebounds, despite injuring his right elbow midway through the second half. The 6'10 senior returned for the final 5 minutes, hitting a 3-ball and grabbing a couple of rebounds while basically playing one-handed. So on Saturday, we'll see Florida versus Auburn, guaranteeing an SEC school in Monday's final against the Houston Duke winner. The women's Final Four could fill out the same way. South Carolina and UCLA won their regional finals on Sunday, with Texas and USC hoping to join them tonight. Baseball, 4 teams remain undefeated through opening weekend. The Yankees battered the Brewers 12-3, hitting 4 more homers with their newly designed torpedo bats. Jazz Chisholm had 2.
Oh, I love my bat. You know what I mean? I think you could tell. It's working pretty well for me.
Cardinals completed their sweep of the Twins 9-2. Padres blanked the Braves 5-0 last night for a 4-game sweep. Nick Pivetta and the Knack allowing just 1 hit. Dodgers were off after sweeping the Tigers, so LA is 5-0, having also taken both games in the Tokyo series over the Cubs. NHL, the Sabres slashed the Capitals 8-5, but Alex Ovechkin scored his 890th goal. He's now just 5 away from passing Wayne Gretzky. NBA, the Cavaliers sank the Clippers for their 60th win of the season. That's Monday Sports.
Thank you, Robert. A-list actor passes, plus the USA's new number 1, when America in the Morning continues after these messages. He was best known for his roles in Shogun and Dr. Kildare. Correspondent Donna Warder reports on the death of actor Richard Chamberlain.
Actor Richard Chamberlain has died at age 90 in Hawaii. His publicist says of complications following a stroke. Chamberlain was first known as the handsome hero of the 1960s TV series Dr. Kildare.
At the risk of seeming facetious, I'd like to remind you, Doctor, that I have only 2 arms and 2 legs.
Then he found a second career as an award-winning king of the miniseries, with successes in Shogun and in 1983... Thornbirds. Chamberlain always seemed to look younger than he was, and in a 2003 AP interview, he jokingly said he'd paid $10,000 to anyone who could prove that he had ever had plastic surgery.
They're calling me a liar. So I think if they find out I'm not lying, that I deserve the $10,000. I just never wanted it. As a matter of fact, I would have more of a career now, I think, if I looked a little older than I do.
Chamberlain's longtime partner, Martin Rabbit, says in a statement, "Our beloved Richard is with the angels now." Richard Chamberlain dead at age 90. I'm Donna Warder.
Several new releases hit theaters this weekend, and there's a new number one. Here's entertainment reporter Kevin Carr.
It was a close race at the box office this weekend with one clear winner.
Look at those bricks. You're a working man. That's right.
Jason Statham's A Working Man prevailed over Disney's First Princess with $15 million.
Food as much.
This is on par with the success of last year's The Beekeeper, showing Statham still has what it takes to deliver on a low-budgeted action flick.
Hello? Is there anybody here?
Last week's champ, Snow White, tumbled 66% to $14 million in its second weekend. Things are not looking hi-ho for this mega-budgeted remake of the Disney classic.
My house shall be called a house of prayer, but you make it a den of thieves!
In third, with $12 million, was The Chosen, The Last Supper.
The Pharisees are plotting to arrest Jesus of Nazareth.
This theatrical release of the 5th season of the popular television series continues to show strength for the brand and for the faith-based audience.
Today's the day.
Fourth place belonged to horror, with The Woman in the Yard, scaring up $9.5 million.
Why's your face covered? How did she get here?
Horror films have been struggling a bit this year compared to their resurgence just a couple years ago.
What exactly are we saying this is, though?
I think we know exactly what it is.
A horse-like.
And finally, rounding out the top 5 was another new release, the offbeat indie flick Death of a Unicorn. The star power of Jenna Ortega wasn't enough to generate more than $5.8 million for the weekend.
Here's hoping we kill Bigfoot on the way home, huh?
I'm Kevin Carr.
America in the Morning for Monday, March 31st, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.